Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new spoiler review here at Max Talks Movies. My name is Max Dinnenberg, and today I am doing my spoiler review of the first two episodes of the brand new Disney Plus Star Wars show, Skeleton Crew. So if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and ring that bell for notifications. I talk all things. I do movie and TV show reviews, box office breakdown show every single week, also movie franchise rankings and out of theater reactions. If you like any one of those things, please consider subscribing and ring that bell for notifications. Comment down below. What are your spoiler thoughts on the first two episodes of Skeleton Crew? Did it surprise you? Did this feel like Star Wars to you, or is this another Disney blunder for them as they continue on with their Disney Plus TV shows? Let me know your spoiler thoughts. Are you excited for the show? Are you waiting to binge it? I respond to all comments, so definitely please comment down below. Also, please hit that thumbs up button, the thumbs up button down below. So, I was not excited for the show. Now, if this is your first video, I am the biggest Star Wars fan. This is my favorite, I guess, IP franchise of my life. I'm addicted to Star Wars. I watch the movies, shows all the time. It's just ingrained in me. So I live and breathe Star Wars. So I have been burned by these Disney Plus shows a lot lately. And Skeleton Crew has good people behind the scenes. Obviously, the creator of the show and the director of the first and 8 episodes is Jon Watts. Watts is obviously the director of the Spider-Man trilogy that Tom Holland was just in. He directed 2 episodes of the FX show The Old Man, as well as directing 2024's Apple movie Wolves. Behind the scenes and the directors that they got for the show were great. Jon Watts obviously directing too. David Lowery, who directed this week's second episode, he's obviously coming off of directing 2021's The Green Knight, which is a movie I really love. You also have Bryce Dallas Howard. You have the directors behind Everywhere All at Once, each getting an episode. Lee Isaac Chung getting an episode, and the director behind Beef getting an episode. The filmmakers on display got me excited. Now, the trailers did not. I was not excited for the show whatsoever based off of the trailers. It didn't feel like Star Wars to me. It didn't look very good from just a production perspective via the trailers. And obviously, with Disney's recent Star Wars shows, it's hard to get excited anymore about these Star Wars television shows. But I'm gonna say this is just the first 2 episodes, and most people who do these reviews are gonna tell you their firm opinion on the show if they think it's fantastic or it's not. I don't like making a full opinion on any TV show until all of the episodes transpire. So, with that being said, I surprisingly had a really good time with these first 2 episodes. Is this top tier Star Wars? Of course it's not. But is this really good entertainment, charming, fun, whimsical? It was. And this was pitched as kind of a Goonies in space story. And this was supposed to be based off of, those 80s stories with, Goonies, Stand By Me, E.T., but in the world of Star Wars. And I felt that. Now, usually by episode, I break down the episodes. I'm not doing that here because it is the first 2 episodes. I'm just giving my general spoiler thoughts. So I think all the child performances, for the most part, are very solid in the show. My favorite character is Neil, who is voiced by Robert Timothy Smith. Love that character. I was cracking up with that character. Definitely a fan favorite. Fern, who's played by Ryan Kiera Armstrong, she was for me the strongest child performance on the show so far. She's someone who, yes, may not be the greatest person, but it doesn't take anything for granted. She's very aggressive and she wants to get what she wants. Really enjoy that character. Nick Frost voicing the SM-33 droid was really well casting. I'm very excited for the future of Jude Law on this show. Love Jude Law. He's playing a Jedi. That was clearly the opening scene of the series was awesome. It was right out of like a bounty hunter scene. And clearly that was Jude Law who gets captured. And now here he is, a Jedi, will get these kids out of prison. Now, this show, again, takes place right after the events of the original trilogy. So obviously it's the New Republic. So we're in the events of leading into the new trilogy. They don't specifically say where we are, like how many years before, based on the show. Now, I'll do some more research moving forward. But I just want to give my just honest thoughts on these first 2 episodes. And I thought it really captured the child in us who loved Star Wars. I am someone who, again, fell in love with Star Wars when I was a very little kid. By the prequels came out. Basically, the third movie came out when I was 3 years old. So I basically grew up watching the prequels a billion times. I grew up with the Clone Wars because the movie of Clone Wars came out in 2008, and then the shows followed after. So from 6 years old and on, I was watching Clone Wars, and then I had those Lego video games on the Wii. So this took me back to being a kid because every time, obviously, they're doing this kind of Americanized version of Star Wars where there's a suburban community of Star Wars and there is schools and there's buses and there's bikes, but honestly, it's all Star Warsified in this season. And the whole thing, and I don't know if this was the point of the show, but I certainly kept thinking about it, which was I kept putting myself in these kids' shoes of, wow, how would I fit into this like suburban area of Star Wars? Would I be the kid who probably, yes, is playing with Jedis and has these great ideas of wanting something beyond this? Or am I the kid who's like a goody two shoes who wants to do well in school and fit well into society? Am I going to be that bad kid who trying stuff out on the side? I kind of put myself like, how would I fit? I think we all kind of think about ourselves when we think of Star Wars. How would we fit in to the world of Star Wars beyond just being a Sith or a Jedi? And doing this from a children's perspective really gives the show a breath of fresh air. Now, yes, people are either going to say the show really does feel like Star Wars or it really doesn't feel like the world of Star Wars. And I hate when people those are their critique. Like there are points where yes, it's fair to say this doesn't feel like Star Wars. For not for 1 second was I thinking that this felt like not a Star Wars show. Yes, I think it's so funny. People complain all the time that everything is so connected. And then when a show isn't trying to connect to anything as of now in a major way, it doesn't feel like Star Wars. I think that this having nothing to do with the main Skywalker saga. Now, yes, is there New Republic? Are there Jedis? Are there bounty hunters? Are they using Republic credits? All of these things. The Jedi history is brought up. But it's not, these people, as of now, are not blood related to anyone. They're just kids in the galaxy wanting more for their lives. And that's something that I think Star Wars really needs. Something that isn't forcefully connecting to the live action films, something that can do its own thing. And I really enjoyed that. The production, which I was nervous on the trailer, I thought the show looked really good. Happily, they went back to using practical effects for bounty hunters, creatures, and droids. And it made the show feel a lot more tangible. I think with the recent shows and even the prequels and the sequel trilogy, the films and shows used a lot of CGI for a lot of these bounty hunters or visual effects for so many things. It felt going back to the OG trilogy when you had those practical effects and having the show have there be puppeteers in this episode and practical effects of the bounty hunters and the droids felt real. I really enjoyed that. The practical nature of the show and the production design. It didn't feel like we were in the volume, it felt like we were actually on sets, on locations, which is another thing that Star Wars has desperately needed for a long time since they fell in love too much with the volume. I honestly just had a pleasant, good watch. I laughed. It brought me back to being a kid in Star Wars. When you're a kid and you grow up loving Star Wars, you also have these types of dreams. I think a lot of people are going to relate to any one of these characters. Now, a lot of us are probably going to relate to the character of Wim, who is dreaming of being a Jedi. And he very much is following the Luke Skywalker route on the show, where he's the one who sees more for himself than just being another run-of-the-mill person in society. But I actually really enjoyed it. Again, Neil and Fern, my two favorite characters on the show so far. From a also story perspective, the thing I love, which I was not expecting, was they live on this planet. We're never told what the planet was in the first episode. The moment they go to this pirate place to get fuel for their ship and to find directions, and everyone's like, "Are you really from this planet?" I was thinking to myself, why do they keep saying that? And the fact that these kids have no idea they're living on a planet that is a myth to so many people, a place of treasure That I really enjoy. Now, so you can feel that Goonies inspiration to the idea of them living on a planet with that treasure idea. I thought that added a lot to the show. Because these could have kids been from anywhere, could have found their place. It could have been very generic on how we got to point A to point B to point C. But the fact that they have no idea that for everyone else in the galaxy, that the planet they're from, first of all, no one knows how to get there, first of all. But second of all, it's supposed to be a myth to all these people. That I really enjoyed. But really towards the end of episode one, I really felt like a kid who remember getting in love with Star Wars, which is the fact that they're on this ship. It felt very Spy Kids like when I watched Spy Kids when I was like 4 or 5 years old. I remember being like, I wish I could be Junie Cortez and Carbon on that ship when they're going in the ocean and doing all these different things and being a spy. I felt like that watching them get on the ship and hit all these buttons and have a droid, and especially when they go to light speed. I think it makes all of us go back to us being a kid, remembering us falling in love with Star Wars. And the fact that this show brought it out of me in the first episode says a lot. So, yes, is this great? Is this show too deep? It's not. It's only first 2 episodes in. But honestly, I had a really good time with these first 2 episodes. I laughed. I felt like a kid again watching Star Wars. It didn't feel like the world was on the line. And yes, were there some of the performances not great on the show? Yes, there are definitely 2 or 3 performances that were just not for me. One's actually an adult, and 1 or 2 of the child performances totally don't work for me on a complete level. But still, it was practical, tangible, easy entertainment. So for me, I'm actually now very excited to continue on watching the Skeleton Crew. So what are your thoughts on Skeleton Crew? Let me know in the comment section down below. Like the video, subscribe. I'll be back here every single Tuesday for the next 6 weeks, breaking down the new episodes on the show. I'll see you there.